morning. Wait, no, it's not the morning. It's the nighttime. Good evening. Welcome to Monday Skeleton Club. How are you going? Oh, do you know, here's a fun little fact for you. It doesn't matter how much I prep myself before we do these lives, but I always invariably move so that there is a shadow that annoys the absolute buggery out of me that just crosses across my body. I know better. Worked in film. I know how to light things and set things up, and then I don't stop moving, and I put shadows all over the front of myself. All right, let me get myself. Yes, there we go. Okay, hopefully that is all working and good and stuff. Hi, good evening. How are you going? Welcome to Front Leg Day. Can you believe that this is the second last part of the body that we're going to be looking at with this little horse? We have made it this far. I feel like it only just started yesterday, and here we are nearly done with this little pony. So I'm overwhelmed with how quick it's gone and how fun it's been. It's been so good. So thank you for being here religiously with me every Monday, or most Mondays, apart from that one Monday when I wasn't here. But other than that, it's been fantastic. Now, I don't know if you saw my lives. I mean, what? This is a live. Wow, this is going to go great today. My stories today, but I actually finally got a photo put up of what the prize pack is going to be for the lucky winner who gets everything right about what this pony has going on. I posted all of the questions. I'll put them into the Facebook page again this week. I'll have them continuously coming up for the next couple of weeks. But we have our fifth question this week, which is, how tall do you think this horse was? Oh, I can hear a tractor outside. I was wondering what that was. It's all right. It's not coming for us. It's a tractor. So that's our fifth question, right? So the first four questions, you can answer them all either, you could just wildly guess if you want to, or go back and have a look at all the other lives. They are saved onto the page. You want to collect all 6 answers. So the last question will be next week. You want to collect all 6 answers, fill them into the form that I have created for you, and I will make that available to you. Whoever is the closest at guessing all of the correct answers about this pony wins the prize pack, which is a hat and a mug and some beautiful drawings and stuff. It's really fun, and I'll send that out to you if I don't come and visit you. Otherwise, if you are the winner and I do come and work with you, I can bring it with me as well. So this week's question is, how tall was this horse? In order to actually give you some clues as to how tall this horse may have been, I have enlisted the help of this lady. So now, because my shoulder is killing me because I've been just holding the phone, we're going to turn around, because I know how to do that. We're going to turn around and have a look at our pony for today. Now, you're going to have to bear with me a little bit today because there's a fair amount of juggling. As you can see, there's all these different workstations at my desk. So there will be a little bit of moving about. But first of all, we want to say hi. Hi, lady. Thanks for your help today. Now, this horse that I have here on the screen, she was 16 hands. I'm not sure why the tripod is moving on its own. That's very clever, but not what I want you to do. Okay. So this is a 16-hand horse that we have here. Cross in front of the light. This is our horse that we're going to be looking at. Well, that we have been looking at. The same one. I promise it's all the same horse. So this is our horse for today. This is our 16-hand horse. So if you want to get a bit of an idea of how big this horse may have been, if I line these up correctly and then light them well, 1 second, you can start to get an idea of potentially the size of this horse. Now let me give you a different angle on that. So these are both our right scapulars. They are as lined up as possible. You can see there's a bit of a size disparity there, right? So our 16-hand horse. And then the question for this week is, how big do you believe this horse is? Now we can move you down a touch. Oh, yeah, we can. And have a look at relative size of our humerus here. Right? And then the final long bone on this front leg. Let me move you down a little bit more. Whoop, don't drop it too. Oh, or do. Sorry, guys. Our radius and ulna. No, I haven't dropped it down far enough. Dang it. Let's go even further. And a little bit more. There we go. Now you can see the whole thing. So that's the radius and ulna of our 16-hand horse. And this is our horse that we're looking at here today. Right? So if you're looking at the size difference between these two, you might be able to get a bit of an idea of how tall our horse may have been while it was alive, which is this week's quiz question. And we say, thanks so much, lady. And we're going to move out of your way and come over to these guys. Say hi, you guys in there. Okay, just one moment while I properly move her out the way. Thanks, lady. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of this horse. Now, the thing is, we have so much to go through this week. What we are not going to do is actually go through how the alignment works, how the movement works in the joints, okay? Because we just don't have time, honestly, and I can't frame it in particularly well. You know, we can only hold one bone in the frame at a time. And so if you're deeply interested in looking at how these things articulate, how the bones of the front limb work, I would suggest that you jump onto the Learning Horse Anatomy course. The link is everywhere at this point, but it's attached to this live somewhere. I hope you guys are finding it. If you jump on there, there is an entire module about the front leg that talks about how they articulate, how the shoulder joint is made and the elbow joint and all of those things. We just can't get to it today. So here's our tiny, tiny little scapula on the right side. And our left scapula here as well. Now, the cool thing that these scapulas show us in the way that they have, let me move this one out of my way, in the way that they have decomposed is that they have actually retained some of the cartilage on the top, right? So this line here that you see where it's all split apart, that's the top of the bone, right? And that feeds directly into the cartilage. Now the scapula, depending on the horse, depending on a lot of different factors as to how much cartilage the horse actually has at the top of their scapula, but there's always some, right? And generally speaking, in decomp, that cartilage degenerates, goes away, we never see it again. But this horse has actually retained some and done such a fabulous job of splitting it apart that we can really see just exactly how those two pieces fit together. Looks like a clacky board, but that would have actually been properly attached to the top of that scapula when the horse was alive. So that's our shoulder blades. Then if we have a look at the humeruses, humeri, the funny bones, the cool thing about these, right, is where we can see, as with everything else that we've looked at with this horse, there are still open growth lines. So here, this is the shoulder joint itself. This is the humeral head of the shoulder joint. So you have your scapula that sits on this plane here. And so when you're touching your horse's shoulder, palpating the front of their shoulder, it's these bones that you're actually feeling, right? This is a left side. So our head is that way, bum is that way. So this is on the outside of the horse's front leg. So here's his shoulder here. You can also feel this deltoid tuberosity here in your horse more often than not, just off the side of that shoulder joint. So this is our articulating surface for the shoulder, for the scapula. But if you look just underneath there, oh wait, let me zoom because that always makes the picture look better. So you can see in here where that growth was still happening in this long bone, right, all the way around. the head of the humerus. How nutso. And you can kind of also see here where it's closed or closing. Oh, shadow, get out of my way. Closing through here. And that's on that deltoid tuberosity. So that would be where your tricep is attaching. Your deltoid is attaching. But, you know, it's so close. It's so open and so active. It's doing such a big job, this bone, of knitting itself together as and while it grows, right where the joint, like where those two bones articulate with each other. Not only that, but you've got your biceps tendon that sits over the front here, which is a huge part in the passive stay apparatus of the front legs. Like, this is a deeply important part of the horse's front limb, especially considering that they don't have a bony connection from the leg to the rib cage or to the rest of the body. They rely entirely on the soft tissue, and then they rely so heavily on that stay apparatus. So then looking at where the growth is happening in those bones as well, it's incredible. You know, it's just one of those other things that we never really consider in the long bones of the legs. Now, what are we up to? Those guys. Now I want to have a look and compare. This is one of the cool things that is quite unique just to this horse. Now here we have the right. Oh, let me move this light here so we can see a bit better, because this is kind of important, this stuff. So this is our right radius. Yeah. This is the top of the knee. Just here. We're going to get to the knee in a minute. Now this is our left radius here. Yeah. Now, if I put those together side by side and try and get my arms out of the way so you can actually see, have a look at the size difference between the left and the right radius where it articulates into the knee. Now, trying to get them not in each other's shadow also. Can you see this guy, which is our right leg? So you're looking at them from the horse's head towards the bum. It's just that little bit wider. Oopsie. Wider through here. Then this one. Stop at shadows. Let me see if I can give you another view of that somehow. That's nearly good. So we're wider on this right radius than we are on the left. And it's coming all the way, you know, from about here in the shaft of the bone, it starts to widen significantly more than the left. Now, once again, please tell me that I'm not crazy and that you can see it too. If I get the shadows out of the way, it's the problem with legs, right? This one is so much wider than this one. So there's more bone to it. It's not necessarily heavier. There's no more density to it. But this left one, for some reason, we have thickening at the base of this right radius. Okay. Now, with that in mind, actually, before we move on, the other thing that I want to show you, this is where the knee bones articulate onto the bottom of the radius, right? Now, this is the left, so this is the near side front, the near side knee. And if you have a look here, you'll see what looks like, where's my little one? Come here. You'll see, oh, stop it. See this crack in here? That does not belong. If we have a look at this guy, this is our offside front leg, so our right one. You can see there's just a shadow of a crack there too. Also does not belong. But this one is not as significant as this one, right? So even before we get to the knee bones themselves, or the carpal bones, we have some kind of compromise, some kind of something happening on both knees. Now, let us rejiggle and come to everybody's favourite joint in the body. I'm going to move my lights with me, because God forbid we don't see the knees properly. All right. Look here. You've got to get out of my way, humerus. It's not even funny. Okay, here we go. So, looks like I'm going to set them up a little closer to each other. But here we have, this is our right knee, so our offside knee here. Now, I have conveniently put these together earlier, just so I knew that we had everything going on as it should have. Now, the one thing that we're missing out of these knees, I don't have the left side accessory carpal, which is the guy who sits out the back. That's the easiest bone in the knee for you to feel while your horse's skin is on. I feel so weird saying that. I'm really sorry, Emma Loftus, if you're listening. I'm really apologise. I'm going to try and do better with my language. But what we are going to have a look at here is how these knee bones actually articulate together, right? So they sit in two layers, one on top of each other, like thus. Drop it down with two hands. There we go. Now you can see better, hey? And then this little guy sits off the side here, right? So we've got two levels of bones. We've got the lower, and we have these sitting on the upper. And then, if I'm good at juggling, we have the radius that sits on top of there as well, right on there. Okay, and then you've got underneath this row of bones, you've got the cannon bone underneath there that goes down into the lower leg, right? So that's how your knee is actually built. That's all the building blocks of the knee, and then you've got your accessory carpal that sits out the back here. I'm not going to turn these around for you guys because I'm just going to end up dropping everything again. If you're interested in the knees, please jump onto the Learning Horse Anatomy course. I do go through these in a huge amount of detail, but for tonight, I want to look at what is specific to this horse, right? So let me angle you down like this so you can get a good view. What we want to have a look at here. So in this bottom row of bones, you can see that we have on this side here this little cavern just in there and a little bit just there, right? Super minor, yeah? In the grand scheme of a body, that's pretty tiny, right? However, then we have our upper layer of bones that sit on top of that. Now, this is the medial side, right? This is the inside of the leg. So when you're talking about legs and balance and that sort of stuff, you've got medial and lateral. Medial is the middle. That's how I remember it. Medial is middle. Lateral is the outside, right? So you've got the inside and the outside. So this is the inside of the right front leg. Okay, so the inside of the off fore. So as well as that little cavern that's happening down here, on this bone, still medial, can you see all of this looks like crisscrossing? You can even, you can see the direction of the, I want to call them fibers, but they're not even fibers anymore. So this is where we have arthritic change in this knee because something has happened all through here. Right? If we have a look at the other knee, ooh, yeah, that's very close. So this is our near side knee. This is our left knee. Same part of the bone, obviously, just a different leg, but you can see how different they are. Yeah, this one here is quite smooth. It doesn't have the rough bumpiness of this one on this side. Yeah. So we have change to two, and they sit one on top of each other, right? So they sit here together like this. Let me show you the change in its entirety. So they sit one on top of each other, and we have change here, which is that little cavern. So we've got an innie here and an outie there. So we've got bony change up here and down here, both on the inside of the off fore. So the right front leg. Now remember, on that right front leg, we also have the bottom of the radius is wider than the near side. I'm going to break something here tonight. I'm not entirely confident what it is, but I feel like it's going to be something. All right? So on this wider radius, we have bony change in the knee. But on this near side one, This is where we've got this little fancy little crack seam thing happening. Can you focus, mate? No, you can't. I can't zoom out, so we're going to have to do something here. There we go, that might work. We've got this little seam happening here. All right, so this is the near side one. If we have a look, I'm going to shove that off out of the way. If we have a look at our near side knee, I'm just going to move us down the production line here just a touch. So if we have a look at this guy. Now, the problem with this knee, this entire leg, this entire knee, sorry, think about it and then speak, is that we have some changes that have happened to the surface of the bone while it has been processing. So where it's looking really rough and kind of a little bit chewed here on the surface, that's a me problem, not the pony's problem. But when we look at the, kind of deeper at the surface level of it, you can see, as I said, with this one, you can see the changes that have happened here with this one that haven't happened here on this one. So looking at these joint surfaces though, now this is the bottom layer of the near side knee we have in this bone here. Again, we've got some little bumps and grooves and stuff. These ones, they were not me. And I can say that confidently because this was a dissection horse. These were here when we took its skin off. So we've got these two marks here and this mark here as well. So this is on the inside. So this is the medial side of the near side knee. Oopa! So is this. So this is the inside as well. All very interesting things, right? Unfortunately, we can't get a good read on the surface of this bone here because of the processing issues. Same with this one here. So they just look a bit like Mars, really. They feel really gross too. All right, so that's knees. Now, excuse me, everybody. You're going to have to move to allow me to come through here. Sorry, I'm just talking to my light stand. Well, hello, there's a very close view of a foot. All right, last station. Here we are in leg department, lower leg department, rather. Okay. The struggling act is so fun. I'm really loving it. Here we go. I mean, look, I don't know about you guys, but I'm really enjoying doing Skeleton Club. And I just, children, by show of hands, who would like to continue doing more Skeleton Club in the future? Because I tell you what, as I said last week, I have approximately 763 skeletons over there, and this is the most exciting and beneficial way for me to learn them, and I would love to be able to share them with you. So if you just want to pop a comment in the comments and let me know if you want to keep doing this, because I have ways and means. We can keep doing this. And I would really love to, but I don't want to do it by myself. So if you guys want to be part of it, please let me know. There's so many cool things that we can discover with these horses. They've got such great stories to tell. This little horse, the story that this one tells is pretty subtle when you're looking at the skeleton. But when we look at the horse, in a couple of weeks' time, when we look at who that horse actually was, it's amazing to see what this body itself actually moved like. So I'm gonna add it to my list of things to do. Pretty high on the list of things to do, really, because this is super fun. Now, well, shall we move on? Here we go. This is where this stuff gets really cool, and these bones in themselves, we could do an entire workshop on them all together, like just this part, because there is so much to see. Let me preface all of this by saying that these long bones, they should all be straight. If this horse had read the textbook, they would all be quite straight. I don't know if you've picked up from this angle the not straightness that we are dealing with here. Let me try and get the lighting a little bit better. There we go. If I don't bang my head on that light, I'll be having a great day. I don't even need to say anything, right? Like, look at these. Incredible. All right, let's start at the very beginning. Don't sing. So let's go to the offside 4. So this is our right side front leg. We're going to the cannon bone. Okay. Short little cannon. I mean, appropriate sized for the size of the horse. Hint, hint. But it's just tiny. Now, we also have, if we look at the tops of the cannon bones, following on in the trend that the that the radius and ulna set, we have a wider bone here than we do here. Now, the thing is that this one really draws your eye as well because the splint bones are actually fused on the back of it. Okay, so this one is, as the textbook says, bone should be, with the splint bones detached. Now, splints are these guys. They attach onto the back of this long bone. They are actually remnants of when horses had multiple toes. Let me actually just put that on where you can't see me fumble and mess it up. Okay, so that one goes on that side. This one goes on this side. And if you have a look, set them up. There we go. If you have a look on the bottom of these little splint bones, you'll see that they've got these sit in place. If you're not going to, I'm going to use your mate. There we go. So if you have a look, they've actually got these little bobbles on the bottom of them, which are actually the remnants of their little pedal bones, of their little toes. So in this splint bone itself, it's got remnants of all of these long bones, all of these lower limb bones that we have here on the table right now, and they've all just been retracted up as the horse went from being 3-toed to 1-toed. Super cool. They don't really play a job in load bearing. They do. You know what? You're sacked. I'm going to use you. You're much easier. So they do give some of the knee bones purchase, somewhere to sit up here. But in terms of load coming up from the bottom of the foot, they don't work in that way anymore. What they do is give a little bit of protection for your suspensory ligament that actually lives in between the two of them. So the issue with that then is if you have these splint bones that have calcified onto the cannon bone, have they calcified in a way that actually gets in the way of the action of the suspensory ligament here as it comes down onto the sesamoids there. Again, it's something that we go into a little bit more in the course, but super fascinating, super duper fascinating. That is just a little bit of dirt. Don't worry about that. That is not significant. So we have the widening at the top here, more so in the off 4 than in the near 4. We have, I think it's also significant that in this offside front leg that we do have these splint bones that have calcified onto the cannon. Whereas with the near side 4, even though it had those cracks in the, cracks in the radius and in the knee bones, we don't have splint bones that have actually calcified onto the cannon. I think that's really interesting to note. Then we come into our P1, right? So just to give you a little bit of geographical positioning, our P1 articulates with the cannon to create the fetlock joint. Then you've also got the sesamoids that sit on the back, but as previously discussed, I don't have 8 hands, so I'm not going to put them on there. Right, so we've got our P1s, which, as I said earlier, if the horse had read the textbook, they would have been straight. Nope. Then we have our P2, which is a tiny little guy, which you should see, in an ideal world, we see in alignment, focus camera, we see them in alignment with the P1, and then we see that in alignment with the P3 as well, right? But because you have these amazing joints that can do whatever they want to, if we have misalignment either from up the limb or from the hoof capsule, then they can have a party and do whatever they want. They can go into all sorts of weird and wonderful shapes. Oh, that's just me dropping them. That's not me being dramatic. So we have these bones that ideally would be in alignment, but can so easily come out of alignment. Why does that matter? Because we have our superficial and deep digital flexor tendon and our extensor tendons running down the front and the back of these. And if we have a misalignment, then we have a suspension system for the entire limb that's not working optimally. You know, that's when we start to get arthritic changes, maybe a little bit of ring bone happening that could get in the way of the function of those tendons. Now, where did I see a little bit of that happening? A little bit, and you know, we are kind of splitting hairs, but maybe the other one's going to be better to look at. So on the front of this, we have very slight ring bone starting here. Just that little bit of roughness through there. So there are bony changes starting to happen, possibly because of the fact that these are not straight bones. Now, as we come down into our pedal bones, our P3s, our coffin bones, our distal phalanx, call it what you will, this guy is not a happy camper, either of them. So what we're seeing in these, which hopefully the camera will be able to scoot out of my way, would ya? What we can see with these is that we have a medial-lateral imbalance, meaning that the inside, the medial and the lateral, they are not sitting with the same balance. So you can see on this side, we have more angulation here than we do here. So it sits crookedly. I can even, when we have a look at it as it sits, how do I drop you down? As it sits here on the table, you can see, I'm going to put him right down the barrel. You can see how crooked it is. No, I want you to focus on the bone, you silly. And you can see how this is much lower on this side, where that P2 would sit, than on this side over here. Interestingly with this though, we don't actually have really significant formation of side bone. So side bone is a calcification of the cartilages that live here and here. And I mean, I can show you some pretty horrific side bone, but this horse doesn't have that. There's a moth in my mouth. What this horse does have are these navicular bones that have significantly remodeled. Now you can see how this little guy has got this little tongue out the back here. Let's play what doesn't belong. This, okay? So it's almost like this navicular bone has been smooshed out of shape a little bit. Oh, come on. You can see, so this is the underside. So the navicular bone, if I zoom out a little bit, we can have a look at how he lives in here. So we've got the P3 and the P2 articulating together as beautifully as possible. And then our navicular bone lives in the back in here. And those three articulate together like that. And you can see that the navicular actually gives this P2 just a little bit more surface area, a little bit more purchase. He also helps to stop the deep digital flexor tendon from getting into any strife. Deep digital connects down under here, runs up the back, up the back of all of these bones, all the way up the back of the leg. And so the little navicular sits here and has those jobs, right? Giving a little bit more surface area to this P2 to be able to articulate and to keep the deep digital safe from any, pinching or anything in this joint that might happen here. But with this fella, he's gotten a little bit out of whack. And so as he sits in back here, he has squished out the side there. Now on the other leg, so again our P3 here, and you can see a medial-lateral imbalance here on this surface where we're lower on this side, higher on this side. And you can see that reflected through the bottom of the sole of this the bottom of this bone, where the sole would be. So we would have seen this reflected externally in the horse's feet. So again, lower on this side, higher on this side. Once again, no significant side bone presenting. like these cartilages that live here, not a lot of change there. If we turn around and have a look at the toe of this one, you can see, ooh, maybe if we're being picky, we've got a little bit of turn up on the end of the toe here. But all in all, just an incredibly wonky shape, right? Really flat through this side, quite upright on this side. And we certainly have, you know, from the middle of that toe, we've got a very different shaped foot, one side to the other. And again, if we have a look at this navicular bone, also smushed. That's my technical term for it. Significantly smushed. Get out my way so we can focus. There we go. On this one, you can, you can even see this little ridge through here. Almost like where the smushing has begun, where the bone's remodeled from. Come on now. I know they're very small, but I reckon you could focus. No? Okay. Right. Sure. Sorry, guys. We got to quit because the camera's stopped doing its job. On this navicular bone, you've even got a difference. Like you've got this side drop down more than that one. So it's like you've got a medial lateral imbalance on this navicular bone as well. How wild is that? And we have a very different plane from here to there. If I can grab the other one, what does it look like? Yeah, see, this is more, well, I was about to say this is better, but it might actually not be. No, I suppose it is. When you look at them side by side, I mean, they're both pretty awful. So that's our little navicular bones. At the end of our little crooked legs with our little feet in imbalance and our little P2s and our P1s that didn't read the textbook either, decided that they'd go off on a little sideways adventure, and our cannon bones that decided that they would definitely be sisters, not twins. So that's the front legs on this horse, you guys. As always, incredible. Remember this week's question, the quiz question for this week is, how tall do you believe that this horse is? If you missed the first, 5-10 minutes of the live, I would suggest that you go back and watch, because I've given a huge amount of clues as to how big this horse might have been. So we have the comparison size of this horse versus a 16-hand horse so that you can get a good idea on how tall this horse might have been. So that is question number 5. We have only one more question left. We've only got one more Monday worth of horse body parts. So next week we will be looking at the hind legs. We will have a look at everything that this horse has got left to tell us. That will get us our final quiz question. Then we will, the week after that, in week 7, we will be introduced. Well, you will be. I know who the horse is, but you will all be introduced to who this horse was in their real life, which is, it's well worth the wait. I tell you what. So thank you all for coming. It was great. As always, if you've got any further questions or comments about this horse, or if there's anything else you want to see from the legs that we didn't manage to get to today, please pop it in the comments. I will get back to it. Otherwise, enjoy. Have a great week. Go and hug your ponies, and we will see you next week. Bye.